file shares plus web server. This is the command to install what's called Samba, and that is a file share service. And close that. Next one is, this is showing that the Samba is installed. So it's showing it down here towards the bottom there. See? Next one is the Apache web server. And you can see at the bottom of there that Apache is installed right there. Alright, number 2. Users and groups. As you know, we have an organizational chart and all the users were added. Here's that example right there where all the users were added. And on the next screen I show a portion of the passwords that were created for every user. It actually took several screens, but this is one example. The next slide is that the users are now all created, and they all have IDs and home directories, so you can see that listed all right there. And the next one is showing the groups being created that we created for them. For every person here, every organization has its own group, and then there's bigger groups that are smaller groups pulled together based on the organizational chart. Next one is the process of adding users to groups, part 1. So there's part of that right there. And the next slide is more of the same. So you can see there were a lot of groups and a lot of users, and it took a while. And then lastly, we have a list of all the groups with the users. So, for example, operations, you see all the members of operations are in that group. Next one is we have a 40 gigabyte hard drive that we created. It's right down here towards the bottom, says SDB. That's the name that Linux gives it. And we show here that it is formatted with MKFS right there. That's the command to format it in the ext4 file system. And then we have the new hard drive is shown here with the ext4 right down towards the bottom. And the next one, we mounted the hard drive that we created. So down here you can see that it is now mounted towards the bottom there. Okay. Next one is create a static IP. That one got out of order a little bit. Hold on a second here. Let me get that fixed here real quick. Okay, so here is the file that's part of what's called NetPlan. This is the configuration file where you enter your static IP info in there, and then you name it the same name as what the default was there. And that's showing that. And this is showing this is showing down here that the static is loaded onto that particular network interface card right there. Alright, so let's get back to where we are here. Okay, welcome user message. So Linux has the ability to give you a message when you log into the system. So here is the file that we configured to show this particular message, and that was the etc motd, which means message update file. And then we'll show the end of a login. I should say, when I logged in, you can see right here that this message showed up after I logged in. Okay. Next one was restart the server every 2 years. So here we go. This is a crontab file, and down towards the bottom, right there is where we set it to 2 years. Okay, next one is data collection of the server. So we installed a service called SOS, and we did it with this command right here. And SOS basically collects all the logs and allows you to analyze the data collected. And here is showing right here that it's been installed, the SOS report tool. And then the next one is the final part of the actual SOS report. So it ran and ran, and then there's the end of it right there. Alright. Next one is repositories. So this command at the very bottom is how we updated and upgraded our repositories, which are software distributions out on the internet. This next slide is after the repositories were updated. This was the very end of it. It was a long, several screen page process, so that's the end of it. Alright, the next thing we were doing is, let's see, a little chart here. We were installing a desktop. So this is the command right here at the bottom to install the desktop, right there at the bottom. And the next page is after the process was done, and when it booted back up, it came to this screen instead of a command line screen. It was a graphical interface screen. So there we got that. And then once logged in, it came to this screen, and then we went past the setup, and then it just had a nice, pretty picture on the desktop. All right. Now the next thing we did is we set up some user restrictions. And I'll give you some examples. So in this file, we turned, and this is called the sshd underscore config file. We made it so that the root login is no longer allowed. That will help protect the server. Another thing we did is we changed the default password quality so that you now have to have uppercase, lowercase, numbers, minimum length of 8, so you have to have several different rules to make a password. Let me scroll this page so I can read the bottom there. The only thing that was there when I started was the maximum retry of 3. Everything else was added. Okay, next thing we did is we created a group called SSH users, and I added myself to that group. And I'll tell you why we did that in a second here. On the next page. Alright, so what we did is made it so that only SSH users group could use OpenSSH, which will restrict people from remote logging in to just who's ever in that group, SSH users. So see that towards the bottom there. And lastly, we restarted the SSH service to lock in those changes, which is right at the bottom there. And that's it. So I'm very excited about our new data center, and thank you for reading over the proposal I sent to you.